Hi guys, so today I'm showing you a brand new flowchart that I made, and it's all about graphing lines in point slope form. So I'm going to walk you through how you could use this with your class. So the first example that I'm going to do is y plus 2 is equal to 2/3 times x minus 4. Alright, so step 1 says, look at your equation. Is there a number being added or subtracted to y? So again, we're looking for something being added or subtracted to y, and I see that there with a y plus 2. So because we have it, we're going to go down the yes path. And I always like to highlight it. You don't have to, but it kind of is a nice visual connector. So it says the opposite of this is your y1 value. So if I have y plus 2, that means it's going to be negative 2. And so it's nice and easy to find later. I just like to go through and circle it with a highlighter. All right, so then it says move on to the next question. Is there a number being added or subtracted to x? So again, we're looking for something that's being added or subtracted to x. Over here, I see subtraction, so yes, there is something being added or subtracted. So we say yes once more. And then the next step says, well, the opposite of this is your x1 value. So if I have x minus 4, here I'm going to write positive 4. All right, the next part asks us to find the number in front of and being multiplied to the x. I see that up top as a 2/3, right? Because it would get distributed to the x if we were to multiply it through. So it says this is your slope value, which we call m. If it's not already a fraction, we'd turn it into 1 by writing that number over 1, but lucky us, 2/3 is already a fraction. And of course, slope represents the rise over the run. So this says wherever we start, to get another point, we can go up 2 spaces and then forward 3 spaces. And that can allow us to find more points. So now that we have everything that we need, it says plot a point at x1 comma y1. So going back, oh, I forgot to circle my x1, so I'm going to do that now. My x1 value was 4, and my y1 value was negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and go from the center over 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 1, 2, make a nice point. And you don't have to, but I always like to put a little check mark to show that I did it. And then the next step says, starting from the point you just plotted, follow your slope's rise over run pattern, which for us was 2/3, and make another point. So starting from here, I'm going to rise up 1, 2, forwards 1, 2, 3, and make another point. And then it says, just connect it with the straight line. Now, you could just stop here. I like to be a little perfectionistic, so I'm going to keep doing up 2/3 for a little bit. And then, of course, you can reverse it by doing down 2, back 3. And it just makes your line a little bit straighter. And, of course, this is totally optional. It's just, you know, like it to look really pretty. So once you have it as good as you want it, as many points, just connect them with a ruler, index card, whatever you have laying around. And you have just graphed your equation, which was given to you in point slope form. I'm showing you right now the mini book size, which is perfect for class notes, for later reference, and it's great because you can fold it up and then glue it into an interactive notebook or like composition book, something like that when you're done. So this will be able to hold 3 examples by the time that we're done. So the examples that I'm picking today show you a little bit of all the different variety of kind of wrenches that could get thrown while kind of graphing a point slope problem, right? There's always something that can be a little bit weird that shows up. So the first problem that I'm going to be looking at is y minus 4 is equal to negative 5/3 times x plus 1. All right, so looking at the flowchart, the very first question asks us, all right, look at your equation. Is there a number that's being added or subtracted to y? So again, we're looking for things being added or subtracted to y. So I'm looking over here, and yeah, I do see something. There's subtraction. So I'm going to go down the yes path. So following the yes, it says, well, the opposite of this is your y1 value. So if I have y minus 4 here, that tells me my y1 value should be positive 4. And just so it's nice and easy to find later, I'm going to go in and circle it with a highlighter so it really stands out. All right, so following the flowchart to the next question, it says, is there a number being added or subtracted to x? So again, we're looking for addition or subtraction to the x. And yep, I see it, there's addition, so we get to say yes once again. And it says the opposite of this is your x1 value. So if I have x plus 1, I'm going to have negative 1 for my x1 value. And just like last time, so it's nice and easy to find, I'm just going to circle this with highlighter. Following the flowchart further, it asks us, find the number in front of and being multiplied to the x. So again, we're looking for something in front of that would be multiplied to the x. So looking at my equation, this negative 5/3 is in front, and if you were to distribute, it would totally get multiplied to that x. So I found it, and it says this is the slope value. And we call that slope value m. And then it just has, like, as a side piece, if it's not already a fraction, turn it into one by writing that number over 1. But lucky for us, we got negative 5/3. We got a fraction, we're good. And of course, slope, right, m represents rise over run. So this tells us wherever we start, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 1, 2, 3 to get another point. Continuing, it says plot a point at x1 comma y1. So searching back up top, our x1 value was negative 1, and our y1 value was 4. So negative 1 comma 4 is where we're going to plot a point. So going to my graph, starting at the center, we're going to go 1 space back, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces up. I personally like to make a little check mark just to remind myself that I did it. And then our final step over here says, starting from the point you just plotted, so this guy, follow your slope's rise over run pattern to get another point. So that was negative 5/3. So starting from this last point, we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then forwards 1, 2, 3. Make another point. So at this point, you could just go to the final step, use a ruler, connect your lines together. I like my line to be extra precise, so what I'm going to do is just keep going down 5, forwards 3 to get a couple extra points, make it really, really straight. So there's another down 5/3. This one I can't fit, so I'm out of space. I can reverse it and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back 1, 2, 3. So at this point, I have enough points that I should be able to angle my ruler very precisely and get a crisp line. So there you have it. We have a nicely plotted line that represents the point slope equation that we were given. Now this first example that I showed you is kind of the standard run-of-the-mill, right? Everything's present and accounted for. There's not really anything that could get confusing here. So the next two examples, I'm going to show some potential kind of stuck points that students could run into. So for my next example, I'm going to graph y equals negative 2 times x plus 3. All right, so starting from the top again, it says look at your equation. is there a number being added or subtracted to y? And this time I'm looking at it, no, there's nothing. So we're going to go down the no path. Right, and because there's no number that we see, technically the number being added or subtracted to y is 0. So that tells us y1 is going to be 0 in this situation. Right, so a bit of a special case. So following the flowchart some more, it says, is there a number being added or subtracted to x? So again, we're looking for addition or subtraction happening to the x. If we go up here, yes, there is. So we say yes. And then it tells us the opposite of this is your x1 value. So if I have plus 3 here, we are going to have negative 3 there. Following the flowchart down, it says find the number in front of and being multiplied to the x. So for us, in this particular example, that is negative 2, right? Because if it's in front of parentheses, we could distribute, which is multiplication. So it tells us this is your slope value, so negative 2, and if it's not already a fraction, turn it into 1 by just slapping it over 1. So I'm going to have to do that in this case. And the rise over 1 tells us we're going to go from wherever we start down 2 spaces, and then forward 1 space to get another point. All right, next step, plot a point at x1 comma y1. So x1 was negative 3, and y1 was 0. So going back over here at the bottom, we're going to have negative 3 comma 0. So I got to remember to plot it. So 3 back, nothing up. So I plotted it, and I can give myself a check mark so we remember that we did it. And then starting from that point, we're going to follow our negative 2 over 1 rise over run pattern. 1, 2 over 1 to get another point. And just like last time, we'd technically be good enough to just connect the points and be done with it. I like to just keep going as much as I can because it makes the line a little bit easier to connect precisely. Whenever you're happy with the amount of points that you have, get your ruler in place and just connect it. All right, so we had our points and we connected. So again, another finished line. All right, the final example that I'm going to show is, well, what if there isn't a slope number in front? That's so obvious. How are we going to do this? So for the final problem, I'm going to show you how we would use the flowchart to graph y minus 5 is equal to x plus 2. So just like every other time, we're going to start at the beginning, and it says, is there a number being added or subtracted to x? Yes, right? We have y minus 5. So we're going to go down the yes path, and when we take the opposite, instead of a minus 5, we're going to have positive 5. All right, hopefully at this point, after doing it a few times, your students are going to start getting familiar with the questions that they ask themselves. Right? That's really the purpose and the beauty of these flowcharts. So following it, is there a number being added or subtracted to x? Why, yes, there is. All right, so we have an x plus 2. And just like the last time, since we said yes, we're going to go over here and take the opposite. So the opposite of plus 2 is going to give us negative 2 for our x1 value. Following the flowchart down, find the number in front of and being multiplied to the x. So I'm looking up here, and well, there's nothing there. So we have a nice note included that says, note if there's no number, it's 1. Right? So remember, if we're looking at the x, how many x's do we have? Well, I only see one of them, therefore, there's a hidden 1 in front. right? But mathematicians tend to be kind of lazy, and we don't write out the 1 unless we really have to. So just because we didn't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So anyway, going down further, it says this is the slope value, right? So 1. And if it's not already a fraction, turn it into 1 by writing it over 1. So technically, 1 over 1 is our slope. So that means from wherever we start, if we go up 1 and then forwards 1, we can find more points. So going down one level further, plot a point at x1 comma y1. Right, so x1, if we go up, was -2, y1 was 5. So -2 comma 5 is where we would like to plot a point. 2 back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. All right. And then to get an extra additional point, it says starting from the point we just plotted, so this guy, follow the slopes rise over run pattern to make another point. So again, our rise over run pattern was 1 over 1. So we're going to go up 1 over 1. And like we've been talking about, we'd be good. We could just connect the points right here. But again, I always kind of find it tricky to get the ruler angle just right when there's 2 points. So I'm just going to keep doing my rise over run pattern for a little bit until I'm happy with the amount of dots that I have. This is completely unnecessary though. You could just do it with 2 points if that made you happy. So getting my ruler lined up, connect it, put the arrows on the end, of course, and we're done. So your students at this point should have a nice little mini book resource that gives them 3 solid examples to use in terms of how to plot points in standard form. So what I do at this point is I have them take out their composition notebooks and we just glue it in. And then they have it for reference forevermore. So I like to use the purple glue sticks, that way they can see how much they're using. I always have them make a box, kind of a perimeter around the edge. And then just an X through the middle. And that always does the trick. Sometimes you need a little extra in the corners and that gets them to stick down real nice. So again, you have this reference now. 3 solid examples. The 2 inside ones deal with some special cases, right? The special case over here, what happens if you're missing a value? Special case over here, what happens if you don't have slope that's apparent? Makes it really nice and easy to use. If you have more questions, don't feel shy, just email, leave a comment below, and I'd love to talk about it more. Bye.